Good afternoon and welcome to the ESI Africa studio here at African Utility Week. My name is Claire Falkvein. I'm the editor of Metering and Smart Energy International. And with me this afternoon, I have Fiona Wilson, who is the Senior Regional Manager for the Clinton Climate Initiative. Fiona, thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thank you, Claire.
I was wondering if you could possibly give some insight into project finance. Why is it so difficult? And are there ways that we could potentially be looking at making it simpler or just a little less complex?
Yeah, it's a great point. It is quite a complex process for financing large infrastructure projects, such as energy projects in the power sector. And that's really because project finance, meaning traditional non-recourse project finance, really involves quite a delicate balance and allocation of risks between all of the parties to a project. So that includes, the private sector, including the developer and project sponsor that are really designing, financing, constructing the project, as well as the off-taker, and oftentimes in this region, the government entities that might back the off-taker or sort of create the enabling environment for project finance. And that is the beauty of project finance, in that these risks are so efficiently allocated to the right party that can best mitigate those risks, that it means really complex projects actually can be implemented with affordable finance and really perform quite well. But the tricky part is that if any one of those parties to the project finance structure cannot or will not perform according to their roles, you really can't access that project finance. And so I think that when we're looking at how to sort of facilitate project finance and ensure that it's a simpler, more feasible process, because we want to see more energy projects and more new build in this sector, one of the things that we have to look about is just adequate preparation on the part of the off-taker and government entities, so that certain key project documents, for example, the PPA or implementation agreements, are available at the beginning of procurement and project development, and that they're not negotiable or shifting later on in the process. Gives a bit more comfort to the private sector and the financiers, essentially.
So that brings me to another element of project finance, and that is some of the challenges that are faced by both private and public sector when it comes to finance. Could you expand on some of those a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's really an intricate sort of jigsaw puzzle of parts and players that need to come together in order to make a project finance deal happen. And so one of the challenges that we see in the region and globally is having the public sector and the different government entities that are involved in the energy sector have a clear understanding of exactly what their role is, either contractually or just in terms of creating that enabling environment. Because oftentimes there are quite small steps that can be taken sort of early in the project identification phase. For example, when government is looking at procuring a portfolio of projects that they anticipate might be financed using project finance. So that's a real challenge, is ensuring that government and the public sector knows exactly what steps need to be taken to result in smooth financing process. But the good thing is that's actually a challenge that can really be addressed quite well with capacity building and training with these institutions. And it's actually one area that we at the Clinton Foundation address with our energy program, so that, working with governments and utilities, we can sort of target achieving more affordable finance and proliferation of renewable energy projects.
So what specifically is the role that the Clinton Foundation has taken with regards to this element of energy development?
Yeah, so actually we have quite a targeted energy program. It's called the Islands Energy Program, which is part of the Clinton Climate Initiative and part of the broader Clinton Foundation. And so we actually founded our Islands Energy Program for sort of twofold reasons. One, because island nations are among the most vulnerable countries in the world when we're talking about the effects of climate change. They experience, rising sea levels, extreme weather patterns, really you name it. And that's today. It's not in the future. They're already experiencing these effects of climate change.
You just need to see what's happening in Puerto Rico, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so by working with them on their energy priorities, we can assist them in becoming more resilient to climate change and the energy impacts of climate change. But also, these countries rely very heavily on imported fossil fuels, which are quite polluting and also incredibly expensive. So that results in a knock-on effect in their electricity sectors of high electricity tariffs and a real impact on their economy. Yet they have amazing renewable resources of solar, wind, possibly geothermal. So we work with these countries specifically by partnering with the governments and the utilities, and we support these countries in developing renewable energy plans and then identifying, a portfolio of projects that they would like to pursue. And then once that portfolio of projects is identified, we target de-risking those projects. That means in early stage project development, taking certain steps to ensure that those projects will be bankable, for example, with project finance. And really we're seeing that unlocks a lot of access to finance and attracts very reputable and experienced developers that can help those countries, transition to renewable energy affordably. So we're really hoping that also creates models for other markets beyond islands to transition to a renewable energy system.
And when you're talking about the Islands Initiative, is that only applicable to islands, or is that your predominant focus, but you're looking at energy and renewable energy across Africa as a whole?
Yeah, so right now our specific partners in this region are Seychelles, Mauritius, and Comoros, which are all island nations. Our program is global, but in the Africa region, those are our primary partners. But again, as I mentioned, though the focus of islands seems rather niche, it actually has huge replicability and scalability to other markets. As renewable energy prices drop, as we become more experienced in understanding how intermittent renewables can be integrated into national grids or distributed energy systems, we'll then be able to take the models that islands are leading and creating and apply them elsewhere on, for example, mainland Africa or the rest of the world.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you so much. I could probably spend a great deal more time chatting to you, but from African Utility Week, I'm Claire Falkvane. Thanks so much for joining us.